Bonsuelo Mathletes, today is going to take a lot of concentration, but it will really be worth it. Two things. First of all, we're talking about equations here and only equations. So don't do this if it's not an equation. Second, terms versus factors. That's kind of what I'm going to talk about here. So I'm going to write something down under this first problem. It's not the first problem, though. I'm just going to write it down. Just listen. I wouldn't really write any of this down yet. I just want to talk about terms and factors. So the first day of school, I talked about equations versus not equations. Very important. This is only for equations. I also talked about terms and factors. Make sure you understand the difference between those because you distribute to terms, not to factors. Okay, so let's take a look at two sides of an equation. So let's take AB plus C equals A times the quantity B plus C. Okay, both sides have multiplication, so there are factors. Both sides have addition, so there are terms. But each side is a little different because each side is either going to be, even though they have both factors and terms, it's either going to be primarily factors or primarily terms. And that's what you need to understand is what's the whole side. So let's take a look at the left-hand side. Okay, AB is a term and C is a term. Notice I've underlined the A, the B, and the C. I've underlined everything that's there, okay? But this side is primarily terms because the A and the B are added to the C. Okay, so this side consists primarily of terms, whereas the right-hand side, notice I've underlined the A, B, and the C, but those quantities are multiplied, so this side is primarily factors. Okay, now I have to admit though, remember, there are factors and terms on both sides, but the left-hand side is primarily terms, the right-hand side is primarily factors. Now, on the left, A and B are factors within the first term, and on the right-hand side, B and C are terms within the first factor. Sorry, not the first factor, the second factor. But again, what you're looking at mainly is, what is it primarily? Is it primarily terms or factors? Okay, having said that, that's what you've got to concentrate on. Now, I could go through these problems with you, and I will, but you know what? If you don't try them on your own first, it's really not going to do you any good. So what I suggest you do right now is turn this video off or get out of it or whatever. Do these problems on your own and then come back and watch, how I do them. Okay? So turn this off. All right, I am assuming you have tried them on your own at this point. Let's go through it. Again, the first thing I want to look at is whether things are terms or factors. Okay, on problem number 1, this is primarily terms. That's the first term. That's the second term. And on this side, you don't have, on the right-hand side, you don't have anything. So what I want to do is get rid of the fractions. Now, I'm going to get rid of the first denominator, which is a 3, and the second denominator, which is a 2. What's the common denominator for 2 and 3? It's going to be 6. So I'm going to multiply each side of the equation by 6. Okay, fine. What do I give the 6 to? I give the 6 to each term. So there are two terms here. The first one is 2/3 times the quantity x plus 1/5. I'm not going to give the 6 to the 2/3 and the quantity x plus 1/5. I'm going to give it to one or the other. I'm only going to give it to the 2/3. So I'm going to take 6 times the 2/3 only, and then multiply that by the x plus 1/5. Okay, that's the first term. Now, but 1/2 x is the second term, so I have to give the 6 to that also. Okay, so we have the 6 times 2/3 is going to give me 4. Then we have x plus 1/5. And then the 6 times 1/2 is 3. And then we have 6x. Okay, good. Now, notice I still have to get rid of the 1/5 though. So what I'm going to do is take each side of the equation and multiply it by 5. Now, the structure is still the same. I still have 2 terms on the left. So I'm going to give that 5 to the first term and the second term. But within the first term, I have 2 factors. I don't give it to both factors. I give it to one or the other. Now, I'm not going to give it to the 4. I'm going to give it to the x plus 1/5. So it's 4. And then I'm going to take the 5 and multiply it by x plus 1/5. Then I have to just remember, distribute to the 3x. And then that side's just simply 30x. Okay, so I have 4 times 5x plus 1, because I distribute the 5 to each of the terms within that factor, plus 15x equals 30x. Okay, again, this takes a lot of concentration. If you have questions on it, please ask me. Okay, let's take a look at the second one then. So the second one, what do we have here? We have 2 terms on this side and 2 terms on this side. Okay, so what do I want to do? I want to get, what's the most number of decimal places I want to get rid of? I want to get rid of 2 decimal places, so I'm going to multiply everything by 100. So I'm going to take this side and multiply it by 100, and then take this other side and multiply it by 100. Now, I give the 100 to each term. Notice each term, though, on the left is composed of 2 factors. I'm not going to give it to both of them. I'm going to give it to one or the other. Obviously, I hope it's obvious anyway, but then I'm going to give it to the 13. So I move the decimal place 2 spots, and the 20 just stays 20. That's the first term. The second term is composed of 2 factors, the 0.8 and the x plus 4. I'm not going to give the 100 to both of them. I'm going to give it to one or the other, not both. Again, I hope it's obvious that I'm going to give it to the 0.8. So that's 80 times x plus 4. And I don't give it to the x plus 4. On the other side, I give it to the 52. And I give it to the 0.7. Okay? So all I'm asking you to do here is, of course, normally you'd finish off the problem, but I'm just trying to get you to understand how to get rid of fractions and decimals. Now, there's a risk here that if I go and finish these last couple problems, last 3 problems, that you just kind of copy them. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I want you to do them. So I'm not going to go through them with you. So do 3, 4, and 5. And here are the answers. I've given you the answers at the bottom. So, again, this is something that's very important. Make sure you go through and do this on your own. And again, ask me questions. That's what I want you to do. But I don't want to do everything for you. So I hope that's helpful. Again, you may even have questions on the first 2. Ask away. But the last 3, do them on your own. Check with the answers on the bottom. And if you have a question, ask me. Have a great day.